Mamdani balanced budget. I want to talk about that. Where's the Mamdani video? Let's watch it.
It's executive budget season. I'm proud to announce that our city's budget is fully balanced.
A balanced budget!
And you deserve to know exactly how we got here. We inherited a $12 billion budget deficit. After months of painstaking work, that deficit is now zero. We achieved this in two major ways: increasing revenue and support from Albany, and cutting waste and finding savings here in New York City. Our budget isn't just about closing deficits. It's about building a city New Yorkers can actually afford. Investments in citywide trash containerization, cheaper groceries, safer streets, relief for taxi drivers are all on the way. And we're increasing funding for libraries, parks, and cultural institutions.
First of all, why doesn't Dan Clancy do this? You never see his ass out there making videos about what he's doing with our tax dollars here on Twitch. So this is a pretty big news. Here's the thing I really like about it. I'm gonna say what I really like about it first. There's parts that are worth drilling into, but the part I really like about it is that it's a politician talking earnestly and honestly about the budget to voters. I like this. I really like this. I wish more of them did it. I wish more of them prioritized getting the budget balanced. It's important. It needs to be a priority. It is so annoying that most politicians think, maybe even correctly, that voters don't care and they ignore this stuff and kick the can down the road and they just fund their current term on deficits. I think that is exhausting because we're just constantly dealing with the consequences of kicked cans from previous administrations, both on a national, a state, and a city level, okay? So I think this is good. I think this is good. The way it's funded, let's see if we can pull a little bit of a chart here. They have a $12 billion gap, $12 billion negative that they have to fill. This is left over from the last administration. Not a good thing. And what he could have done is make no attempt to fill this, continue borrowing, and hope the next guy figures it out as the large amount of debt. By the way, this is the deficit of like running the city year to year. However, the total debt in New York is closer to like 99 billion. That's the consequence of all the previous deficits added up. And he's not gonna be able to tackle this problem just yet. It's huge. But step one is to fix this so that you're not adding to the deficit, to the debt, okay? If you're not adding to it, then slowly you can chip away at this, and as the city grows, it'll be less. You stop the bleeding. So I just want you to understand that there's a, of course, with all debt problems in America, it's huge, but this is the step one, is the 12 billion. How did he cut this gap? First, he made $500 million, 0.5, from the luxury second home tax, the pied-à-terre tax, okay? If you have a $5 million home that's not your main residence, there's an increased tax on that, okay? That's the part that is like raising taxes on the rich. He wants to do more, so far has been blocked by the state. That's the biggest part of it, that's raising taxes on the rich, but it's a start. Then there's like 8 billion, this is the majority of the gap, that comes from going to the state level, Governor Hochul of New York State, and saying, hey, we need you to send us some money. Now, people have in the chat, I see some of you saying that like, well, isn't that like a one-time thing? He hasn't really balanced the budget. Here's what I want to say. This is only for the next 2 years. However, making it long-term is not unreasonable because New York City sends more in tax dollars to the state than it gets back. It's a net gain for the state, New York State, NYS. So I believe the number is like 20 billion more. So when you tax New Yorkers, $20 billion more goes to the state than comes back. So this 8 billion just comes out of this gap. Do you understand? So they're just cutting into this. So it's still a net gainer for the state. They're just taking less. Because New York City is such an important part of the state, it makes sense the state would want more of that total tax pool to go back to the city to keep it to be a strong gem or jewel. So this is not that unreasonable. Like, I don't think this is that crazy that he has negotiated a deal with Governor Hochul. In fact, I'm impressed that he did it because they were kind of at odds. Zohran Mamdani and the governor of New York State were like seemingly teaming up for a fight. And now Zohran is pretty good at diplomacy. Zohran has somehow found a way to become friends with Trump and Governor Hochul and everyone. I don't know, but he found a way to negotiate this deal. The part of it that's the most questionable is that it also includes, I think this is like 1.7 billion. I don't know the exact number, but it also includes, why did I do a B? A lowercase capital B. This part is Basically, he is delaying payments into New York City pensions. So like if there's like a firefighter or teacher or whatever pensions, they are not paying it now and will pay more later. So that is a big question mark. I know that like from the more left side of his fan base, they're like, what the is that about? I do think we as a country need to have a reckoning with, I don't know, dude, with how much of the budget is going towards boomers, old people. We need to figure out a way to balance because the pension numbers increase all the time. The pensioners vote. They have very, very strong public unions and they increase it a lot. So it's something that we need to figure out. But anyway, he's not decreasing their benefits, just to be clear. He's just delaying the New York City's payment. The idea is they can make the payment later. But that is still kind of, in my mind, a bit of a shortfall, the 1.7 billion. What else did he do? New York State has a mandate to decrease class sizes. And that basically means in like high schools, teachers can only have a certain number of students. I don't know what the exact number is. I think it's like, you can't have more than, 16 or 18 or whatever. 25, smaller classes. Yeah, smaller classes. So that is going to cost money because you have to hire a lot more teachers. What Zoran did is he delayed this. He basically said, I'm punting on that. I need an extension from the government and we're going to not do that yet. So they're going to not decrease class sizes. However, it's worth noting this is kind of a smart thing to choose because with the way the population curve is going, class sizes are naturally decreasing pretty rapidly. Like they're naturally getting smaller. So hiring a ton of teachers now is likely going to mean you have to fire them later anyway. It's like this was not a well thought out mandate, but it's being pushed in the city. It seems like they're picking their battles pretty reasonably. That's what I'm saying. My takeaway from this is that Zoran is not being super ideological and saying, I will cut absolutely nothing that is important to my base or whatever. He's picking battles that are worth fighting for a long-term goal of getting his major goals done and balancing the budget. I have to say, this to me is impressive. I'm more impressed with this than anything else. I'm being genuine. I literally think that like being a real politician is the art of trade-offs and the art of priorities. It's like picking what has to go down so this can go up. If you try to have it all, you often end up just making life miserable for people down the road. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's not sacrificing the programs voters loved about him when he ran for office, but he is making sacrifices and things he has to do. Now, what's interesting is, I think there's a trigger word. He mentioned it in the speech there, austerity. I think this word is such, I don't know. I find it to be used in such bad faith so many times. And I think he's a really good political messenger because he was able to cut things like, hiring new teachers and pension pays and say, well, it's not austerity. Well, other people, they would be throwing this word at him. I guess what I'm going to say is, I think if you're like cutting health services to give tax breaks to rich people, that's austerity. But if you're balancing your budget, that's not austerity. That's just balancing the budget. That's just spending the money you have and not more. So I find it to be frustrating that it gets used for any cut for any government service ever. I think it's annoying. But I think people have a rightly learned fear of cuts because often the rich never pay. That's why I like that his big flagship program was like, we're making the rich pay more on second homes. How can they delay pensions? They're not delaying pension payouts. If you're retiring right now and you get paid a pension, you're still getting the same amount. But every year, the New York City government puts a certain amount of money into the lump of pie, basically the big pile in the bank where pensions get paid out of. They're just not putting their payment in this time. They're delaying their contribution. The pension reserve is not being added to. That's correct. And by the way, that will have to be dealt with eventually. It's partly a can kicking. It's not the biggest contributor to this 12 billion, but it is. It's worth mentioning. It's like a last mile thing to be able to say we balanced the budget completely to $0, to be honest. I think you could have gotten all the way down to the last 1.7 billion, but it doesn't feel as good. So it's like a partial delay to be able to get to the end. Do you think he's making any missteps? I think this pension thing could blow up on him. Here's the truth is that when you delay a pension contribution, you have to give even more the next time to make the math work out, because money grows over time when it's in the big pile in the bank. So if you don't make it now, you have to make even more later to make it even to where it should be. And other cities have tried this with bigger amounts than this, but they've tried it. And it often leads to suffering for the pension, which can lead to like huge union backlash from like teachers unions and sanitation workers unions and things like that against the city. And the governor can get caught in fights on that. So if there's any risk, if there's any landmine here, it's at the pension contribution part. But everything else seems like pretty reasonable. He's betting he can increase revenue next time to cover it. Yeah, that's what it is. Basically, that's the long and short of it. You know, if you're trying to fill a $12 billion shortfall, part of it is cutting spending, which he's done, and part of it is raising taxes. But he's really handcuffed on his ability to raise taxes because you need the state level support. You need like Governor Hochul to help you out with that. And so he can raise property taxes, which he threatened to do, ended up not doing because he got the money from the state, but he can't raise like income taxes. And that's the big question mark. Is like, if you could find a way to raise income taxes on the rich, you could cover this shortfall pretty quickly. Listen, I think it's a nuanced thing, like all things are. I wish I could tell you that's like he did an absolutely perfect job, but what I'm saying is that's never real life. And I honestly, after reading through all of what he did, I give him real credit because I genuinely am impressed. I'm not like the world's biggest Mamdani glazer or whatever. I literally have like been watching closely and changing. And as he's gone along, I've been more impressed because he's one of the few refreshing politicians who talks about the budget and like cares about it and wants to, it's like so rare. It's so rare. And he's really trying and he's like really making hard choices. To be honest, I just find it to be impressive. So I hope he's successful. Would you be opposed to a one-time wealth tax for streamers? Yeah, I'd be opposed to that. I think there should be the opposite. There should be a one-time wealth dividend where streamers finally get paid by the government for their noble work they do. I think XQC and I should get millions of dollars. I think we should get the pension money. I think we should get New York City firefighter pension money. It should go to streamers.